Everyone, Karen Cecilia here. My Lord, you haven't heard me for a while, have you? Well, yeah, I'm still around. I'm still around. I'm still here. Just taking a break from the whole thing. All right? But I've been getting a lot of text messages about where are the videos, where are the videos. So I'm going to start sending you some videos, maybe 3 or 4 about pedophiles. And I'm choosing this topic to start back with because too much of them exist in our society, and too little have been done to punish them or to hold them to account. And this is not just them locally, but the ones I want to bring you are internationally. And you will understand just how much society and institutions in society have really, really gone above and beyond to protect these guys. Just how far they have gone to protect them. And even as early as the 1990s, my first story is going to show you just how much society and institutions are embedded and in protecting these guys because they are smart or they're brilliant or they bring something to the social order of the country. I don't know what it is. But this guy that I'm about to tell you about is a French literary genius. And the French government and French society and the art industry, and they have sat down and watched this guy, praise him, worship him, awarded him, and saw exactly what he was doing and did nothing, absolutely nothing about it. His name was Gabriel Matzneff. Is Gabriel Matzneff. And I have never heard of him before I came across this story. Never heard of him. I've never heard of him because I guess because he's French and most of his books are written in French. And so I've never heard of him. But having now researched him, I realized that he is and he was a very big thing in French literary society. I'm going to tell you the story of him and what he did to a young girl, an underage child, and how the French government, the French people, French institutions, how they honor him and watched him, and what happened afterwards. Please remember to like the video and share it. All right, share it to as many people as you possibly can. So here goes. She was 13 years old. This young underage girl was 13 years old when she first met him. At the time, he was 49. He was famous, powerful, a celebrated writer with prestigious publishers and influential friends woven through the highest circles of French literary life. He was top of his game. Everybody adored him because of his literary prowess. But she was 13. She was quiet, bookish. Her parents had recently separated. She was now from a broken home. Her father was mostly absent. She was a kind of lonely that only a certain kind of teenager knows. Not dramatic, not loud, just quietly hungry to be seen, hungry for attention. And he saw her. He began to write her letters, long handwritten letters filled with literary references, intellectual conversation, and comparisons to great heroines from classic fiction. He made her feel seen. He made her feel important. He would wait outside her school. He gave her books. He told her that she was different, exceptional. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the grooming comes in. When men start grooming underage girls. One of the statements from Dayton Campbell abusers, she said that he told her that her breast them big for her age and she look mature for her age. Well, this guy, same grooming. He waited outside her school. He gave her books. He told her that she was different, exceptional. He told her that their connection existed on a plane that ordinary people could not understand. You see, grooming, he's telling her nobody's going to understand the relationship between you and me because you are exceptional and you are different. And our connection between you and me, it existed on a plane that ordinary people couldn't understand. She believed him. Then she was 14 years old, and adults called her, mature for her age. And that phrase is a catchphrase used by pedophile. Mature? Oh, you're so mature for your age. That phrase is not a compliment. It is not a compliment. It never was. It is the oldest permission slip that a predator knows how to read. This is how what predators use to trap underage children. You're mature for your age. You're so bright. You read these wonderful books. But Gabriel Matzneff, he read it perfectly. He read that permission slip perfectly. His abuse of this 13-year-old lasted 2 years. 2 years. And here's what makes this story unlike almost any other. He never hid it. It was in plain sight. He wrote about Vanessa in his published diaries. That was her name, Vanessa. And he wrote about her in his published diaries, calling her only V, but with enough detail that anyone who knew her could recognize that it was her. He spoke about his attraction to children on national television. They interviewed him constantly, and he spoke about his attraction to children. He described what he was doing in published books. And you know what France called it? Literature. Of course. He described everything he was doing to an underage child in his published books, and France called it literature. Publishers printed those books. Literary critics celebrated them as bold and transgressive. The French government gave him awards. But when a journalist named Denis Bombardier appeared on French television in 1990 and called his behavior exactly what it was, child sexual abuse, you know what happened to her? She was publicly humiliated for it. Publicly humiliated for it. Prominent French writers mocked her. The studio audience murmured their disapproval. Not at the predator, at the woman who dared name him as one. And Matzneff, he kept his prizes. His books kept selling. Even after that. And Vanessa, the underage child that he has been sleeping with since she was 13, Vanessa Springora, she grew up carrying something that had no name in the world she lived in, because it wasn't romance, it wasn't transgression, it wasn't art, it was grooming. Plain and simple, methodical, calculated, patient grooming of a child who had no real capacity to consent. No matter how many adults praised her emotional maturity, she had believed she was choosing, because that is how grooming works. They make you feel like you are making this choice. And she never knew that she was not old enough to make that choice, but she believed she was choosing. She had not understood that everything she thought she was choosing had been engineered for her by someone who had done it many times before. For decades, she stayed silent. What was the point? He was celebrated. She was a footnote, a V in someone else's acclaimed pages. The institutions that had protected him were still standing. Speaking would only make her the story, the problem, the girl who didn't understand art. But you understand me, people. Then, this was in 1990s, you know. Then in 2013, she turned on the television and watched Gabriel Matzneff receive the prestigious Renaudot Prize. It's a French literary prize. Big, celebrated, honored, again and again. She sat there and she watched it. And something in her made a decision. She decided that she was going to write her own book. It took years. She had to find the right language, not revenge, though she was entitled to it, not accusation, though accusation was also deserved, but something more precise, and something more lasting than both revenge and accusation. She wanted to describe clearly and without flinching exactly how grooming works, how admiration becomes manipulation, how love becomes a cage, or a child can be made to feel chosen when what is actually happening is that she is being hunted, groomed. And so, in January 2020, Vanessa Springora published her book, simply entitled Consent. Consent, Paris bookstores sold out within days. The book sold out within days. And then the reckoning began. Then publishers start to pull Gabriel Matzneff books from their shelves. Then prosecutors open a criminal investigation based entirely on his own writings, which he had been getting away with for years. So prosecutors open a criminal investigation against him based entirely on his own writings, the things that he said in those books, which he had never hidden because he had never believed there would be a reckoning. He had never believed that the institutions who have always protected him would ever come at him. So he just write it. And they call it art and literature. The prize committees faced questions that they had avoided for decades. Those prize committees. Intellectuals who had once signed petitions defending adult-minor relationships. Oh yeah, France had that up to the other day. And had people defending it. Signed petitions defending a man having an underage relationship. So this group started to face a public that was no longer willing to look away. And Gabriel Matzneff, quietly relocated to the Italian Riviera. He disappeared. And so France had to look at itself. Really, really look. How had literary Paris celebrated for decades a man who wrote openly about sexually exploiting children? How many people had known? How many had looked away because he was charming and brilliant and connected and rich? And what he produced was considered art. How did that get past us? They asked themselves. The answer was uncomfortable, of course. Because almost everyone had known. Almost everyone had known and almost everyone had looked away. It's art. It's literature. Let's laugh about it. She looked big for her age. Look very mature. She loves books. She can discuss art. She's mature for 13-year-old or 14-year-old. And almost everyone had known. And almost everyone had looked away. And one book changed that. One woman refusing to carry someone else's shame one single day longer. She wrote about her experience. France subsequently passed legislation establishing a clear age of consent, of course, a legal protection that should have existed all along. I can't even begin to imagine how, I mean, in the 1990s, such a legal protection never exists. Vanessa Springora did not set out to change the law. She set out to tell the truth, the whole truth, with her name attached, about what happened to a lonely, bookish girl at a Paris dinner party in 1986. This is not long ago, you know, people. This is not long ago. This is 1986. And that girl spent 30 years as a character in someone else's celebrated story. A V, whose real name didn't matter. Just call her V. But the woman that she became took her name back. She wrote her own story. She took back her name in her own words. And in doing so, she proved something that every survivor and everyone who loves a survivor needs to hear. It is never too late to speak. I'm going to make sure this particular video reaches every picnic in Northwest St. Anne, reaches all the girls we spoke to tell them that it is never too late to speak. It is still not too late. It is never too late to name what happened to you. It is never too late to refuse to carry someone else's shame. Just like so many young ladies from out of Northwest St. Anne is carrying the shame of Dayton Campbell. The institutions that protect predators are not stronger than the truth. But throughout all of this, the Dayton Campbell, not one time did the police, a prosecutor, ever call him in to question him. Not once. Not once did they call him in and question him. And the officer that went down there to do his investigation said he heard it from everybody, everywhere. He just couldn't find one person to sit down with him and give him a full statement. Why did they not call him in and question him? It's never too late. It's never too late, young ladies, to speak, to refuse to carry someone else's shame. And the institutions like our courts and our police and the institutions that's supposed to protect children, they're not stronger than the truth. The reputations built on exploiting the vulnerable are not important than justice. No, they are not. And one voice, clear, calm, and certain, can dismantle decades of complicity. And I'm saying to everybody that listens to this video, if someone in your life needs to know and understand how grooming works and why good institutions fail children, or why silence is never the survivor's fault, this is the story to share with them. This story about Vanessa Springora. Thank you all so very much for listening. I'll have a next one for you soon. God bless you all. Stay safe, everybody, and for God's sake, let us care. Let us keep our children safe.